Am I the butthole for not asking my kids to come to my wedding after they RSVP'd? No. My kids were young when I left their mother. She decided that she preferred the company of another man to mine. I was heartbroken and humiliated, but I dealt fairly in the divorce. My alimony and child support were set and I never missed one payment or a chance to spend time with my kids. Beyond our scheduled time together, I did all the dad stuff. I came to see them perform in school plays and play sports. If they wanted to talk, I made myself available. I never spoke about their mother other than to say she was a good mom and they were lucky to have her. When she remarried, my alimony ended, but obviously not the child support. She had another kid with her husband. When my kids were 18 and 17, their mom was diagnosed with cancer and it was very aggressive. She ended up needing a lot of expensive treatment and it ended her marriage. He left because of the debts and he could not care for her. I don't really know more than that. She didn't make it 5 years. I felt bad at the time, but it had nothing to do with me anymore. I had just become engaged to my fiancé. I sent my kids invitations to my wedding. It was just small in my backyard. They both said they would not be attending and that I was heartless for getting married just 2 months after their mom died. I said that I understood their grief and that I hoped they changed their minds. And then I dropped it. I got married on Saturday and my kids found out. They called me and said I was a dick for not postponing my wedding or at least calling to ask them to come. I just said that they knew the time and place and I would have made room for them and had food if they had shown up. They are both pissed at me, but I don't think I'm wrong for not changing my plans over the death of a woman I divorced over a decade ago. Edit. Sorry. I forgot and it is important. The invitations were sent before she died. #edit. My kids are in university. I do not live in the same city as them. From the moment their mom went into hospice care, I checked in on them every day. Sometimes a call, but usually a text. We didn't always connect, but we did connect. The invitations went out 4 months before the wedding. We planned the wedding to happen over the winter break so my kids and my new wife's children could attend. We saw the kids at Thanksgiving and we had a long cry together over their mother. They sent their RSVP just a few days after their mom passed away. I think that answers most questions. 1. The weddings was planned and invites sent before she died. 2. You'd been divorced for more than a decade. 3. You invited them formally. They declined. I get that they're kids and they've just lost their mother, which is a horrible loss. But you've done nothing wrong here. Not the butthole. Not the butthole. You invited them. They declined. I don't understand why they expected you to interpret their RSVP of no as a please come beg us to come anyway. You're not psychic. I also don't understand why they found out you got married on the date listed on the invitation that they clearly read and responded to. They already knew because you told them. Not the butthole. They regret missing your wedding and are still raw from their mother's death, so blaming you is the only logical thing they can think of. From what I'm reading above, I'm going to say not the butthole. It's been over a decade since you've divorced and it would appear that you have done your due diligence inviting them to the wedding. You invited them before she passed away and they said no. Then they came back and asked you to change the date? Personal opinion, as I've lost a parent recently, there is no specific time frame for grievance, but I think 2 months is not an inconsiderate time frame. It's been over a decade since your marriage ended and she has obviously moved on, and I think you are in the right of moving on as well. From what you say above, you did all the things you were expected to do in terms of dad stuff. Am I the butthole for pulling my daughter out of the bathtub without getting my wife? As fun as it is to scroll through this sub, I never thought I'd ever have to make a post, but things change. I really need some outside advice to see if I was really in the wrong. I, 42 male, have a 19-year-old daughter with epilepsy. It was a pretty recent development and we've just now managed to get used to it and have it managed. I was downstairs one evening searching for my reading glasses when I heard her say she was going to take a bath. After a few minutes of fruitless searching, I went upstairs to see if I left them up there. That's when I heard a loud noise from the bathroom, like something fell. I knocked a few times and asked if she was okay, but I didn't get a response. I waited another minute before opening the door and finding her seizing and slipping under the water. What I heard was her knocking over some of the shampoo bottles when she began to shake. Her mouth went under and I freaked out. I held her up until she stopped seizing and then pulled her out of the water entirely. The bathroom isn't very big, so I carried her to her room right next door and laid her down on the floor with a pillow. I started shouting for my wife for her meds and to bring a phone in case we needed to call EMS. She was naked, so I found a robe on her floor and threw it on her. She woke up after a few minutes, confused, and we gave her the medicine. My wife and I sat with her for probably an hour while she came back to her senses. I wanted to go to the ER, But my kid is stubborn as heck and wouldn't go. After a while, we all calmed down and left her alone to get dressed and relax. It was after that, when we were going to bed, that my wife had an attitude. I asked what was wrong and she snapped. I was told that I should have shouted for her immediately when I realized what was happening. It was okay for me to have held her up in the bath, but it was inappropriate and disgusting that I carried our naked daughter to her room and that I put a robe on her without my wife being there. She said she would have handled the situation since our daughter was nude. Obviously, I panicked and I didn't think anything of it. I told her that it was my daughter in an emergency situation and that it didn't matter. It wasn't ideal for me either, but it was just my kid. She told her parents and mine over the next few days and the results haven't been pretty. My wife's parents are furious and my father-in-law called me every name under the sun for looking at his granddaughter. My mother-in-law and my parents were more understanding, but did say that next time I should get my wife because it would be more appropriate since our daughter was naked and that seemed perverted. My daughter said that she didn't mind that I helped her instead of her mom and didn't feel weird about it, but our families have not let up. Am I the butthole? Hi, former lifeguard here, and I have watched people go into epileptic seizures in the hot tub and had to go pull them out. Someone in that state can pull water into their lungs and be drowning/losing oxygen to their brain in less than 30 seconds. Your wife sounds horrendous and I have some very strong, and not very nice words to describe your father-in-law. That could be my own father-in-law trauma projecting though. You responded quickly and decisively in a crisis and because of it, your daughter didn't drown. I am livid on your behalf, not gonna lie. What? The actual frick. Not the butthole. I think the reason I'm so pissed about this on your behalf is that it infuriates me to no end all the bullcrap stigmas attached to fatherhood of girls, as a dad of my own 2 daughters, and this is prime example of it. Next time you should let your daughter potentially drown in the time it takes mommy to come to get her, so you can preserve her modesty. Clearly, you must be some kind of creep. /s. Ugh. What a load of horse crap. How are you the for not letting your adult daughter, naked or not, drown? My heavens. Not the butthole. Yikes. All those adults are very creepy for sexualizing a medical emergency like that. Creepy. Not the butthole. A naked body doesn't have to be anything sexual, and you carrying her naked to her room was only a dad caring for his daughter during a medical situation. There is nothing more to it than that. You are a hero. Your father-in-law and your wife are buttholes. I'd be having serious chats with my wife about her frankly bizarre notions. Interesting that she and her father have the weird sexual hang-up, no? Am I the butthole for refusing to allow my twin to be a bridesmaid at my wedding? I, 25 female, have a fraternal twin sister and am getting married next fall. We were very close growing up until high school. She was an outgoing bubbly cheerleader and I was a shy nerdy bookworm, so she ditched me for the popular kids. She didn't actively pick on me, but she'd stand by with her head down and do nothing when they bullied me. She would talk to and hang out with me at home as if nothing was wrong, but when at school or at the mall where kids at our school were likely to be seen, she didn't want to be seen with me. When we turned 16 she had a big bash, but I didn't have any friends so didn't want to try and have a party. Our parents were making her include me, but she discreetly offered me $100 to pretend I was sick. I took the money. I really didn't want to go to a party where I'd at best be ignored or worse picked on. We went to separate colleges across the country from each other. She tried to keep in touch but I ignored her because I was very traumatized at losing my sister/best friend. I would be polite to her at home during school breaks but kept her at arm's length. Anyway, I don't want her to be a bridesmaid, let alone maid of honor. My parents thought it'd be a good compromise to have her just be a regular bridesmaid. My big from my sorority will be my Mo and my fellow littles who had the same big will be my bridesmaids. I reluctantly said she could be a guest at the wedding but not a bridesmaid. If it were entirely up to me I wouldn't invite her at all, but that would cause more drama in my family than it's worth. I told them, but what would other people think if she was seen with me? She cried. She never apologized. She just thinks it was so long ago I should let bygones be bygones because she was young and immature, and my parents agree with her. But I had to be in therapy for years because of her. Why should I have someone as a bridesmaid who thinks they're better than me? Am I the butthole? She never apologized. She just thinks it was so long ago I should let bygones be bygones because she was young and immature, and my parents agree with her. I agree that you were young and immature. And you still are. If you actually felt bad about your actions, you would be sorry about the pain they caused me and you would be happy to apologize. Goodness knows there are things from my own past that I'm ashamed of and I've apologized for. If I thought any of my prior actions were still causing someone pain, I would do my best to make it right. You disagree. That's fine, you are an adult and can make your own decisions. But that means we don't share the same values. And if we don't share basic values, why would you even want to be my bridesmaid? How do you think you can be supportive to me in my future life if we can't even agree on the basics? Regardless, I'm done having this conversation. You are not close enough to me to be a bridesmaid. Anyone who knows us will not be surprised by this. Anyone who is surprised by this, doesn't know us well enough that we should care about their opinion. Not the butthole. The people standing next to you on your special day should be the people you feel supported by. Honestly, if you are in therapy, be strict with your parents and tell them she is uninvited. Is it really worth it to have someone like that on your happiest day, yo date? In my opinion, just use your shiny spine and offer her $100 to say she was sick and not come. Am I the butthole for asking all the guests to leave after my brother and Syl's pregnancy announcement? My, 28 male, and my wife Anna, 28 female, were expecting. She was almost 3 months, we were really excited, we bought everything a baby needed, and talked a lot about our future with the baby. August 23, 2022, my wife woke me up in tears. She tossed her blanket off from her legs to show me a big patch of blood near her crotch, staining the sheets. We had a really hard time accepting the fact, but Anna was much more affected. She would cry in our bed for at least 4 hours every day, she wouldn't eat, and she would say awful things about herself and her useless body. I had tried to console her to the best of my abilities, but I was grief-stricken myself and couldn't say the right words to her. It took 4 months of therapy for us to gradually start feeling better. Anna was smiling more, she was still a little on edge, but she was doing good. January 14th was Anna's birthday and I wanted to make it really special for her. I invited our friends and family and cooked her favorite foods. I just wanted this day to be happy for her. For context, our families know about the situation and the effect it had on Anna, especially my brother and Syl, as we had stayed in their house for a bit. While everyone was eating the food, my brother and Syl got up and told everyone that Syl was pregnant. After 4 seconds of silence, everyone in the room started congratulating them. I was stunned and turned to my wife having an emotionless expression until she smiled slowly and congratulated them, and hugged them both. For a good 20 minutes, everyone couldn't stop talking about pregnancy, baby names, and new baby toys. They could have easily announced this at their 5-year anniversary party, which was just 2 weeks away. What was the point of announcing it on my wife's birthday? I noticed my wife get up and leave to go to our bedroom. I found her crying. She told me she doesn't want to go out now, that she doesn't want to face them. I understood and quickly headed to the table, where everyone was done eating, talking as if they hadn't noticed we'd left. I didn't want to make a big scene, so I told everyone kindly that me and Anna had some plans for the evening and that we would have to cut this party short. That was the only thing that came to mind at that moment. Syl comes walking towards me and starts yelling at me, saying that I'm doing this because of her announcement. I tried telling her as calmly as possible that it wasn't like that and this was supposed to be Anna's birthday party, not some pregnancy announcement party. I said my goodbyes. Then 2 hours later, I get a message from my brother saying I was selfish and that I shouldn't be jealous just because we won't be as careless as the two of you, careless as in implying that we had somehow caused the miscarriage even though we were incredibly careful. I'm beyond frustrated. Do you think AITA because of how I handled the situation? Not the butthole. Announcing your pregnancy at someone else's party is incredibly selfish. Doing so at the party of someone who has recently miscarried is beyond evil. And as for your brother's carelessness comment, I think that's a clear case of fighting words. You're beyond frustrated? That's it? I'd be enraged. Hell, I am enraged on your behalf and I don't know you. I'm not sure why you're tiptoeing with these buttholes. Not the butthole, and I'd be laying into them. On what planet was that appropriate? Even if you guys hadn't lost a pregnancy, it's rude to make someone else's party about you. Just like you don't announce an engagement at someone's wedding. And his later remark about being careful? What the actual frick? If one of my brothers pulled a stunt like that, they'd get an earful from me whether it was my party or not. THW way Syl got in your face screaming, and that comment your brother made at the end makes me think they announced the pregnancy at Anna's party on purpose, wanting to upset her. I have some ideas why they would do that, but none of it matters. Nothing can excuse this kind of behavior, especially if they had their own party 2 weeks later. Keep taking good care of Anna and go no contact. And obviously not the butthole. Hey OP, PLS, send this message to your brother and Syl. I am not jealous, I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted you chose to make my wife's birthday about your pregnancy during such a horrible time in our lives. Your disregard for her feelings are evident, especially when you could have chosen to announce this at your 5-year anniversary, a day that was about you and not my wife. Furthermore, your insinuation that the miscarriage was in any way our fault because we were careless is truly horrific. 1 in 4 women miscarry, it's tragically common. While I would not wish this pain on my worst enemy, I worry for my nephew/niece who is inevitably going to grow up with callous, selfish, derogatory buttholes, not the butthole. Am I the butthole for wanting a child-free wedding? I, 22 female, am getting married soon. Since my fiancé and I are child-free and because we plan to have alcohol at our wedding, we decided to have a child-free wedding with the age cutoff at 21. This requirement so far has gone over well with most of our invitees. Most of our invitees don't even have kids anyway, so it doesn't make a difference for them. I do have one friend, Mel, 20 female, that I had to exclude from the wedding. After realizing that pretty much everyone else from the same social circle had been invited except her, she confronted me and demanded to know why she wasn't invited. I tried to explain that it wasn't personal and that I just didn't want to have to worry about underage drinking going on under my nose on my wedding day. But Mel kept accusing me of being a bad friend. She argued that since we had drank together before it shouldn't be such a big deal, but I told her that it was different since we were both underage at the time. I was 20 and she was 18-19-ish when we started drinking together. Now as an adult, I feel like I have a responsibility to prevent underage drinking, and as the bride, I feel like I have the right to have a child-free wedding. Mel is unconvinced and keeps talking bad about me behind my back to our mutual friends and making snarky comments about me feeling superior. I don't see why she can't just relax and let me have my wedding day the way I like. So Reddit, am I the butthole? It's weird that you would consider someone that is a year younger than you a child, yet think that you are old enough to get married? So close to being a child? You're the butthole. You wouldn't have to worry about underage drinking. The only person with that concern would be the barman. Having a child-free wedding and having no guests under 21 are different things, as 18 to 21-year-olds are adults. You're technically in the right because you're wedding your rules, but definitely you're the butthole. I would never exclude one friend from my close friend group because they're slightly younger. You feel like you have a responsibility to prevent underage drinking? Get a grip, you sound so condescending to your friend. Am I the butthole for telling my husband that I can't force my daughter to invite him to her wedding even when he has contributed towards it? I have a daughter, Leah, who's 23. I met my current husband when she was 16 and she never really saw him as a dad, although he's always been there, which is part of who he is. He values family and she respects him a lot. He has a son, Justin, who's 27, and there were issues involving some money my stepson inherited from his mother's side of family. Leah was counting on the fact that Justin would share, but it didn't happen. This caused a huge fallout, especially when my husband got involved. Leah had claimed he didn't see her as family and went low contact. Then 2 years later things started to get better. She's getting married and my husband suggested to contribute money towards her wedding as a way to make up for the inheritance money Justin refused to share with her. She agreed but only sent me an invitation. When my husband saw that the invitation only had my name on it, we both discovered that Leah did not want him to attend. I felt absolutely devastated but didn't say a word because it's her wedding. My husband fought with me regarding my stance and I told him it's her wedding and I can't force her to invite him even when he put money towards it. It is okay? No. But it's out of my hand, I'm just basically a guest. He didn't like that. He stormed off, then had Justin called to berate me and call me and Leah opportunist who took full advantage of his father. I was heartbroken over that. Am I the butthole for what I said to him? Why on earth would your daughter expect her non-bio-related stepbrother to share his inheritance money from his mother? The entitlement is off the charts, as is the fact that you feel that is somehow a normal expectation. It's his money. His mother's money. Your daughter has literally nothing to do with that. It was outrageous she demanded a portion of his inheritance. Your husband didn't need to make up money that your daughter was never entitled to. The entire notion is ridiculous. And your daughter not inviting her stepfather over this is insane. You've raised a horrible daughter and you're allowing her to act like an entitled brat. Doesn't seem like you care about her behavior, your husband or your stepson at all. Justin is entirely right about both of you. You're the butthole and so is your kid. I hope your husband wises up and takes his cash back. I'm trying to figure out why in the hell would your daughter think she would get some money from her stepbrother's inheritance from his mother. Then she gets money from your husband to pay for her wedding but didn't include him on the invitation and doesn't want him there. She never seen him as a father figure but expected money from his son that he got from his mother? You're the butthole lady, especially your daughter. I'm with the son on this, you're both are opportunist. You're the butthole, and you've raised an odd daughter as well. Why the heck would your daughter think she's hard done by in any way, shape, or form for not getting a slice of her stepbrother's inheritance from the completely unconnected side? Entitled vultures, without even the decency of extending an invite to your unfortunate husband. Why would your daughter assume that her stepbrother would share inheritance money from his mom's side of the family with her? This is baffling to me. Also, you're the butthole. Am I the butthole for learning Spanish behind my fiancé's back and uncovering his family's true feelings? I'm F, 26, and a Chinese American. My fiancé is M, 34, and was born in Argentina. We met 2 years ago and just recently got engaged. Spanish is his native language and his family only speaks it. His parents and siblings speak a little English. I have picked up on a few phrases he uses and words, but not enough to get by. I have offered multiple times throughout our relationship to take classes and even begged him to teach me. I want to feel more connected with him and his family, and I feel like learning his language is a good start, especially now that we're engaged. He's told me that I don't have to and that it's a sweet offer, but it's unnecessary. I always ask why and he always says the same crap, that it would be too hard and it's not worth it. BC his immediate family knows Ang and communicating with them is most important. Or that it wouldn't be authentic to the way his fam speaks. I argue that the few times we've had dinner with the family the bulk of the convo was in Span and I felt left out. He argued back that he isn't going to learn Fujonese, the dialect my fam speaks, in return, and he also feels left out. That wasn't even a valid statement. BC we never speak Fujo around him and I barely know it. I would also never make him learn it. His mom planned a dinner to celebrate our engagement this past weekend at her place. It was a decent-sized gathering and I again was the only non-Span speaker. My fam lives a state over and couldn't make it, but we had plans to have another dinner all together. I have been learning Span behind his back because I wanted to know if they were speaking badly of me. My Span was nowhere near good enough. The week before I spoke with my friend who knows Span and asked if I could foot her so she could translate for me while I had AirPods in. At the dinner, I met some new fam members and they all said in Spanish, I wasn't expecting her to be Chinese. Others also made comments about our age gap and how I was probably with him for the money because my people are known for that. They also made comments like my fam probably comes from nail salons. He told them to shut up but never really defended me. I spoke with his mom and sister a bit and they also made comments about me being with him for money, and they don't see what he sees in me. I overheard his mom saying an Argentinian girl would be a better fit, but it'll bite him in the ass soon enough. I excused myself and took the car home. He texted me pissed that I would leave out of nowhere and leave him stranded. I explained to him what I did and I know eavesdropping is very wrong, but I don't feel bad after what I heard. He said maybe they're right and that I was an entitled for doing that, and said this is why he was trying to protect me. He said that's how they are and they won't change, but what pisses me off is he never speaks highly of me to them either or defends me as his fiancé. His mom thinks I betrayed and embarrassed them and I was petty for doing that. Not the butthole. Don't marry him. He is dishonest and you deserve more respect. Not the butthole. If they wouldn't say, in English, what they said in Spanish, then they are the ones being petty. Your fiancé isn't likely to change. If he doesn't extol your wonderfulness now, he won't later, either. Even if he tried, his family wouldn't believe him and blame you for making him say it. Edited for a misspelling. Not the butthole. Oh no, you caught being racist and now they're embarrassed and upset that you caught them. Good for you. Also, if you haven't already, dump that guy. Dump him in Spanish. NTH. Don't marry this guy.